Imagine you've been fighting a war for 10 years. Your city has survived countless attacks. You've watched thousands of soldiers die outside your walls. Then one morning, you wake up and the enemy is gone. Their ships have disappeared over the horizon. The battlefield is empty. All they've left behind is a giant wooden horse. So naturally, you drag it into your city. And that might be the strangest military decision in history. According to one of history's most famous stories, that's exactly what the people of Troy did. That night, Greek soldiers climbed out of the horse, opened the gates, and Troy fell. It's an incredible story. Maybe too incredible. So today we're asking, could the Trojan horse have actually worked? If you've never heard the full legend, here's the short version. Around the 12th century BCE, Greek kingdoms supposedly united to attack the wealthy city of Troy. The war dragged on. 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. Neither side could win. So the Greeks changed tactics. Instead of trying to destroy the city, they pretended to surrender. They burned their camps, sailed away, and left behind a gigantic wooden horse. Inside, hidden in darkness, were elite Greek soldiers. The Trojans celebrated, dragged the horse through the city gates, held a victory feast, went to sleep. Then the horse opened. The soldiers climbed out, opened the gates. The Greek army returned under cover of darkness. Troy was destroyed. It's one of the greatest stories ever told. There's just one problem. It may have never happened. For centuries, many people believed the Trojan War was completely fictional, just another Greek myth. Then, in the 1870s, an eccentric German businessman named Heinrich Schliemann decided he was going to find Troy. Most archaeologists thought he was wasting his time. Instead, he uncovered the ruins of an ancient city in what is now Western Turkey. Modern archaeology has confirmed that several cities were built on that site over thousands of years. One layer, dating to roughly the same period as the legendary Trojan War, shows evidence of destruction. Burned buildings, collapsed walls, weapons. So a city probably existed. It probably suffered a violent end. But whether Homer's story describes what actually happened is another question entirely. Let's think about the horse itself. How big would it need to be? Ancient accounts don't agree. Some suggest it held a few dozen soldiers. Others imply far more. Even 30 fully armed warriors would require an enormous structure. Not just tall, wide enough to hide people, weapons, and enough space to breathe quietly for hours, or maybe days. Then comes an even bigger question. How do you move it? What is heavy? Really heavy. A giant wooden statue could weigh several tons. You'd need ropes, rollers, hundreds of people pulling together, which raises an awkward question. Why would anyone willingly drag a suspicious giant object into the middle of their city? People do weird things. This is where the story becomes surprisingly believable, because history is filled with examples of people making decisions that seem ridiculous. In hindsight, the horse wasn't presented as a weapon. It was supposedly offered as a religious gift, an offering to the goddess Athena. Destroying it might anger the gods. Leaving it outside could be seen as disrespectful. Bringing it inside might have seemed like the safest choice, especially after 10 exhausting years of war. Imagine finally believing you've won. Your enemy is gone. Would you really expect one last trick? Or would you want to celebrate? Sometimes, victory makes people less cautious than defeat. Now things get even stranger. Some historians think there never was a horse at all. In ancient Greek, the word used in the story can carry symbolic meanings. Some scholars have suggested the horse was actually a siege engine. Others think it could have been a ship. A few even propose it was a metaphor for an earthquake. Here's why. Poseidon, the Greek god associated with horses, was also the god of earthquakes. If an earthquake weakened Troy's walls, and Greek forces attacked immediately afterward, over generations, that event might transform into a story about a giant horse. History, especially oral history, has a habit of becoming more dramatic with every retelling. Let's pretend the horse was real. Would the soldiers survive inside? Not comfortably. It would be dark, hot, cramped. They couldn't sneeze, couldn't cough, couldn't shift position very much. Every sound mattered. Imagine sitting silently inside a wooden box, knowing that if one person makes a mistake, everyone dies. This wasn't just courage, it required extraordinary discipline. The soldiers hiding inside would have been the ancient world's version of special forces. Here's something fascinating. The phrase Trojan Horse is still used today, not because of ancient warfare, because of computers. A Trojan Horse program looks harmless. Maybe it's a game, or a photo, or an email attachment. You willingly let it inside your computer. Only later does it reveal its real purpose. The lesson hasn't changed in 3,000 years. The greatest threats aren't always the ones attacking your walls. Sometimes they're the ones you invite in yourself. So, could the Trojan horse have actually worked? Maybe. A giant wooden horse? Possible, but far from certain. A clever deception that convinced a tired city to lower its guard? That happens throughout history. Whether the horse was real, a siege machine, a ship, or simply one of history's greatest stories, its survival tells us something important. Humans don't just preserve facts, we preserve ideas, and few ideas have lasted longer than this one. Sometimes, the easiest way to defeat a fortress is to convince the people inside to open the gate themselves. Maybe that's why, 3,000 years later, we're still talking about a horse, when the real story was always about trust.